MPI Paranormal Radio. The truth is to be found. An internet radio show dedicated to the open discussion of different paranormal topics by military paranormal investigations. Our aspiration is to research and discover the possibilities of scientific reasons to a field of study which many do not believe to be supported by facts. Military Paranormal Investigations is not affiliated to any branch of the military. We are a science-based paranormal research organization with active duty and retired military members, dependents, and or friends located out of Wichita Falls, Texas. Recorded or live, broadcasting is shoutcast on multiple websites to get the maximum reach. Now, here are your hosts, members of the MPI team.
And welcome to Military Paranormal Investigations Radio. My name is Rob.
My name's Jeff.
And I'm Destiny.
And as you can see, we have a new volunteer for us. This is Destiny. She's been one of our junior members for quite some time.
She's not a junior member anymore.
As she made abundantly clear a little while ago before we started the show, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I earned this right.
Oh, you earned this right.
Yeah, I did my time.
Rob, you might want to introduce who she is.
No, I was going to let her do that.
Oh, okay.
This is my dad, everyone.
That's right, yes. Yes, Destiny is my daughter. She's been a junior member with us. She was one of the first junior members along with Kyle.
Yeah, she was.
And then
I was
Matt.
a junior member when I was 14.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, as in like the very first one.
Yeah, she was the true junior member because Kyle was seen as just a member.
That's
he didn't
right.
Start the junior program.
That's right, because Kyle was a member. Because he was.
Mm-hmm.
So she is the founding junior member.
There you go.
Who is no longer a junior member.
Right. But we do have some youngins coming up. I have two more that they are dying to become junior members again.
I'm past all that, so
Kristen's old enough. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, she might be old enough, but
Just saying.
All right. Well, before we actually start the show, we just want to let everyone know we are not affiliated to any branch of the military. We are just retired members. Me of 20 years.
I am of 26 years.
I'm not in the military.
Well, if you're a dependent, you're considered.
Might as well be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Tonight's show, we had a whole thing planned out. We were talking about doing history on All Hallows Eve. But things come up, and I really didn't get any research done on that one.
Me neither. Not like I wanted to.
So I think what we were talking about, Destiny, you and I, when we were coming over here, was like, why not just talk about some of our old cases and our old experiences? And you jumped on that one because you were saying that you had a lot of experiences on that one. So.
I do.
All right, cool. But yeah, I want to talk about some of our first cases that we did,
sure.
and just go from there and banter a little bit about that. But I do want to mention that you can find us on our Facebook. If you've noticed, we actually had a new video that we put on YouTube, and from what I'm hearing, a lot of people are liking that video, especially one individual. He's posted on our Facebook page a bunch of times already, talking about how the audio was excellent and the video is really good, and we're doing a good job. I think we're going in the right direction with this.
And I see that we have Devrin17 who subscribed to us on YouTube.
Oh,
so
that
welcome.
I did not see that. Yes, definitely welcome to our YouTube subscription. And I know since our last podcast, we actually have 2 more people signed up on Podbean.
Nice.
So we're sitting at 72 now.
Very good.
Keep on going up.
Great.
And just like last time on the video, I didn't look up the names. I mean, I can look it up on my phone right now and say thank you. But I'll put a little blurb on there where it runs down on the screen. Probably like right over here. I'm going to try magic. Do it right over here. See if that works. I don't know.
You can find us on Twitter also.
And on our Facebook, like we just mentioned. If you do Twitter and Facebook, all you got to do is search Military Paranormal, all one word. Same thing with YouTube. Now that we're on there, just do that. And when you search YouTube, you'll type in Military Paranormal, and it'll come up with the actual Military Paranormal, a space in there. But just tell them you want to do the one where it's just all together, and you should pop up right there with our latest video. And I also want to mention that with this video that we just did, it looks the same as the previous ones, but the previous ones are strictly our banner up there. So this one actually starts off with our banner, and then we move on into our podcast.
Yeah, it
With-
turned out really, really good.
I think it did. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that
Yeah,
one.
you put a lot of hard work into
It
it.
took me a whole week to get that
Yeah.
one up.
So, well, Destiny, I guess since you brought up this idea, why don't you go ahead and start us with one of the cases that maybe
Or-
you remember the most, or
Or if you have any experiences that you wanted to join, because I know there's a couple that you're itching at that you want to talk about. I'm pretty sure the dolls that you want to talk about, but I'll just let you go ahead and talk, and we'll chime in here and there.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my most traumatic experience with this group.
Traumatic.
Yes, it was very traumatic for me. We were in, was it Arkansas that we went to?
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably.
okay. So we're in Arkansas. Whose museum was it?
It was the MacArthur Military
MacArthur
Museum.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're in there, and there's this little room, and it has like this, I guess what used to be a window, and they've made it into some sort of like shrine now, and it had the story of this little boy.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
Okay, so I don't remember the whole story, but it was like very traumatic, and this little boy, something happened to him, he got killed.
Well, what it was is he was 19, I believe it was, or younger than that.
I don't remember how old he was.
Anyways, he was hung for being a spy
Right.
for the North.
Yes, okay.
So that's the story behind that one. But it turned
Yeah.
out that he really wasn't a spy.
Right.
And in this picture, or this window, it's supposed to depict him and his mother. Is that who it was?
I'm not exactly sure who it was.
There was some female character up there. I don't know. They all thought it would be a great idea to send me in there because for some reason that sounded amazing to them. And I walk in there and just start bawling for no reason, like ugly whale tears coming out of my face. And they're all on the radio like, no, leave her there. She's fine. She's fine.
I think that was me that was on the radio.
Yeah,
at the
they're
time.
like,
Yeah,
no,
I'm sure
wait,
that
wait,
was
wait.
you.
Let's see what happens. Just leave her there. And I'm sitting here sobbing, not knowing what's happening. After previously that day, we almost got shot at a gas station. My nerves were shot.
Well, yeah, we were in a part of a town that we really weren't familiar with.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. But we really didn't leave you there. We actually had someone sitting there with you, but we just
Doesn't
wanted
count.
to. But it does count because we didn't leave you. We just left you in the room
Doesn't count.
to see. But you were older. You were older and wiser. You
I
weren't.
was like 16. Bawling my eyes out.
But it was an emotional thing that we were trying to figure out if it had to do something with that or without it. So, yeah, that's why we were.
He's just making up excuses because he's my dad. He has to act like he cares.
Yeah, we had some pretty good experiences in the MacArthur Museum, I know.
That was really good. There was a lot happening there.
Yeah, that night we definitely had some. In fact, Rob, if I remember correctly, we have some video that we had some footage that we captured when you and me and a couple other
Oh,
members
when you guys
in
were
there.
talking about upstairs.
Right.
Yeah, with that one, I was actually down in Ops, and it was you, Kevin, Destiny, and
Mom was up there.
Yeah, Mom was up there. Okay. Well, we actually have the other junior members that just showed up. Okay, this is my other daughter, Kristen. This is the one that wants to be another junior member right here. She didn't realize she was on camera, and now she's like, so what
Now
are you
she's
guys
shy.
doing?
Where?
Right
over
over
right
there,
there.
right there.
Oh, people of the world.
This is going on YouTube.
Awesome
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So, what are you guys doing here?
We're just like, let's come in and let's go see.
Lane
Who
had
dropped
pee.
us off? Or who dropped y'all off?
Mom, we were at the haunted house.
Oh, we're not.
Okay.
Plan has to go.
Well, this just kind of got interesting.
They're not staying. Lane just has to use your bathroom.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
That's all they
That's
care
fine.
about.
Okay. Well, hey, Maddie, you want to join this conversation too? You sure?
Hey, Destiny, I did a little research. It was David Owen Dodd
Yes.
was the story, and it's a stained glass window
Yep.
Okay,
that
stained
is
glass. window.
actually in there.
So, what was the story actually behind it? Because it's been a couple of years since we've been there.
Okay, David Owen Dodd is perhaps one of the best known Civil War figures in Arkansas history. The city of Little Rock remembered the boy hanged as a Confederate spy in January of 1864. They named a school after him. Let's see. The window commemorating the young Arkansas's executed as a Confederate spy in 1864 was unveiled at the museum in Richmond, Virginia in 1911.
Oh wow!
Actually,
so the
that
picture
window
was
in-
so the window was in Virginia, and they brought it back.
That's right.
Interesting.
The idea for the window originated 3 years earlier when the Arkansas Division of the United Daughters of the Confederacy began raising funds for a memorial window for the Arkansas Room at the Richmond Museum. So in January
Hi,
of
guys.
2004, the Museum of the Confederacy loaned the window
Is that like?
to the museum in order to commemorate the 140th anniversary of Dodge trial and
Is that the
execution.
same museum that loaned the cannon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What was his name?
David Owen Dodd, D-O-D-D.
And did they say how old he was?
Yeah, in this it doesn't say.
I'm pretty sure
But
he was young.
I
I
want to
remember.
say he
He
was
was 20.
19, and you can.
See, 1920.
He was born in 1846 and died in 1964 or
Yeah,
1864.
1864. Yeah.
And was he like one of the youngest, or I can't remember?
I really don't remember.
Yeah, I can't.
But
remember
if you're
his name.
interested, you can do some research. Just
Yeah, you can
Google
find it on
David Owen
Google,
Dodd.
or I'm pretty sure if you go to the MacArthur Military Museum in Little Rock, Arkansas, I'm sure they have a pamphlet or something up there.
Yeah.
'Cause,
And that's where I'm on their website
Okay.
looking at it. So,
so that was your most dramatic one that you had?
Traumatic.
Oh,
I started
traumatic.
crying in front of a bunch of people I didn't know. It was very traumatic for me.
How is it not everyone that you know? It was Jeff and
yeah, but
Kevin. And
but it was. I mean, to just have, when you're investigating and you just have those moments where a feeling of something comes over you,
right.
an emotion such as crying or whether it be fear or whatever it might be, that can be very traumatic.
Okay, yeah.
Because now that we're talking experiences, I'll go into one that I think we've talked about on one of our other podcasts. But
With
Rob,
Mike?
you'll remember this one. We were
Yes, we're going to talk about you, Mike.
we were up. No, it's another one. We'll talk about that
Okay,
one too,
okay.
though. We were up in Jacksboro
Okay.
at the Fort Richardson
Oh, you and I.
Hospital.
Yes.
That was probably one of the
earliest.
earliest bigger investigations that we went on as a group.
Yeah.
And I would say that it was probably around 2:15, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. We had been there quite some time.
Yeah, because we camped out there as
Right.
well.
Right. And on the property, there is an old, what they call a Buffalo Soldier hospital that was utilized. And as you go around the hospital, it has a wooden planks or wooden boards around the
Right. It had a wraparound deck.
Right, exactly. And as what I remember about this experience was during the daylight and prior to my event, there was windows that you could see through, and
Right.
there was a light pole behind us
Yeah.
on the other side.
Where the morgue was.
Right, and you could see the light coming through the windows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you and I were wandering around. You had a video camera.
Yeah.
I had a K2 meter. And
It was the old Sony handheld Handycam that had the IR, one of the first IR ones that you could record with at night.
And what I remember about it was inside, we weren't allowed to go in. They had it locked off.
Right.
But they had motion detectors
Yes.
inside of the building.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, these motion detectors went off. And the thing that I remember most about all of this is when I looked through, I was by the front doors, and right next to it was a window.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked through, and I could remember seeing the light pole. But when this experience started, all of a sudden, the window went completely black. I could not see that light pole on the other side, and I remember saying to Rob, I'm like, Rob, something's going on here. Well, I put the K2 meter up
Yep.
to the door,
Yep.
and the K2 meter just went completely crazy. It was pegged out. Well, I motioned to Rob, and Rob was videotaping me from behind me. He was probably 10
About
feet
10
behind
feet.
me.
10 feet.
And all of a sudden, you could hear the sound
yes.
of, no kidding,
Yes.
like
yes,
sounded like
yes.
boot heels hitting that wood.
Yeah. it was like someone was walking on that porch that had on boots, and it wasn't us because
And-
I was wearing tennis shoes, so I
And-
know it wasn't
And I'll
me.
tell you, if about me, what I'm the type person, I want to experience things. I'm the one that I want to have something thrown at me. I'm the one that wants to be touched, because being skeptic in this arena for me, it's I want to be, no kidding, I can say this
Yeah,
happened.
it just happened.
So I'm standing there, and I remember the hair on the back of my neck started standing up, and I'm like, okay, just stay calm. Don't freak out about this, because like I said, we had only been doing this maybe
Oh, that had to have been our first big case. So
maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months, a little more. But anyways, so I kept the K2 meter there, and like I said, it went dark in that window. I heard the boots, and
Right.
it got louder and
Yep.
louder, and I'm like,
And that's when I jumped off the porch and ran to the side so I could record what was going on with Jeff. And what I saw was a darkness. That's all
Yeah.
I can describe is
Yeah.
a darkness. And I'm like, Jeff, it is getting closer to you, because I could literally see this thing, just darkness on the porch, just getting closer and closer to you.
Yeah.
And as that was happening, I distinctively remember the boot steps getting closer
Yeah.
and closer to you.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'm like, Jeff, it's coming right at you. And you're like, I know.
Yeah.
I was like, it's coming right at you.
yeah,
And-
and I remembered I didn't move. I didn't, like I said, it kind of, I won't say that it excited me. I was a little bit nervous about it, because I didn't know what to expect. But as it continued, it got a little closer, and it got a little closer.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, they stopped. And no more than maybe 10 seconds later,
Everything.
whatever was in that window started lightening up,
Yep.
and you could start seeing the light from the light pole behind the building.
And the darkness just dissipated.
Yeah.
It just went away. And I was like, I got this on video. It's on the Sony cam.
Yeah.
And you could clearly see the picture. And I wish we still had that
Yeah.
that camera or that tape,
Yeah.
because we've lost the files
Yeah.
and everything. But you could clearly see that darkness just coming down the foothold on that deck. And then as soon as it got there to you, it just went away.
Yeah.
That was one of the few cases that I liked a lot.
Yeah.
Going to it.
And I guess for me, we've been doing this for quite some time, and we don't always catch a lot of
No.
stuff on video
No,
or
not at all.
audio. But for me, just having that personal experience, I could never go to somebody and say, well, this was paranormal or whatever.
Right.
I could say for me that I felt that it was paranormal.
Exactly.
But without having that footage to say, here's the here's the audio of the boot,
Right.
here's this.
Because we didn't have the audio recorder back
Exactly.
then. All we had was, because like I said, we were starting off and we didn't know what equipment we needed, what would do with what. We just went with whatever we had
Yeah.
is what we're going to utilize.
Yeah.
And I believe the DARs that we had, Joe and Jeremiah had the
I think,
DARs.
yeah,
'cause
you're right.
They recorded that.
Yeah, we're not really sure.
Yeah,
what
I don't know what
is.
that was, but we have some audio out there that sounded pretty demonic at the time. But
Before we go on to our next experience, Des, I want to ask you a question, and I don't know if I've really ever asked you. Maybe I have, and I'm getting older. I just don't remember. What got you truly interested in the paranormal, and what got you
there we go.
to
I'm gonna
want to
move over
join?
this one. There we go.
So, first of all, just a little bit of background. I am Native American,
Okay.
so we believe in quite a few very different things that are considered kind of controversial, I guess, in
Right.
today's society.
Mhm.
Not a lot of people believe them. So, growing up, hearing all these stories and knowing all these things, I also had my own experiences in my households growing up when I was a child. So, it wasn't ever something I debated about. It wasn't something I was skeptical about. It was just like, okay, well, this happens, and that's it. That's all there is
Okay.
to it. So when this group started, it was kind of natural for me, because I was like, okay, I mean, happens
Sure.
every day. Why
Sure.
not?
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just not a new thing.
So your experiences that you had in the house when you were a kid, was there anything that ever really scared you, or I mean,
All of them.
Really?
Okay.
Well, not all of them.
No, I'm kidding. When I was a kid, it happened pretty much since I can very first remember. So I don't think anything ever necessarily scared me,
okay,
because it was kind of I was used to it happening.
okay, all right,
Looking back, though, I should have been terrified. I was stupid.
Yeah.
I should have been so scared about what happened. But, no, I don't think at the time it ever scared me. But I mean, like, you're a kid. Not,
Right,
you,
right.
You kind of think you're invincible.
Are you referring to the doll?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was terrifying.
Well, go ahead. Tell them what you recall as the doll,
So-
and I will back up because I was there too. I remember this too.
Okay.
So, a little more
This is what got me
backstory.
interested in
Okay.
paranormal.
All right, great.
Is
Good.
this happening to her?
Okay.
All right. So
All right.
Me. Okay. So basically, I brought this together. Y'all are welcome. Okay, so another little bit of backstory. My mom and I were crazy obsessed with porcelain dolls for whatever stupid reason.
Okay.
And I don't know if anybody knows the story behind porcelain dolls, but originally they were first made or first documented in China.
Okay.
And what happened was if somebody was possessed or had an evil spirit or anything like that, they would basically make a doll that looked just like them, kind of like a voodoo doll would be made.
Right.
And they would trap this evil spirit in this doll and bury it because you can't break it, you can't burn it because that releases the spirit back into the world.
Okay.
So they would bury these dolls. Well, then porcelain dolls started kind of becoming more mainstream. People wanted them.
Right.
And when this happened, all this crazy stuff started happening to people because I'm guessing, I mean, obviously, I don't think this happened to us, but for some people, they would actually purchase these authentic dolls not knowing that that's what they were because they
Right.
wanted them to look older. I did all kinds of research about this.
hey,
Wow, that's
yeah,
that's awesome.
I was so scared.
I wasn't expecting this about the doll story, but all right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was scared. So that's a little backstory about porcelain dolls in general. So what happened was I was a kid,
I think you were
And-
7.
probably something like
7
that.
or 8.
Yeah, because my sister and I shared a bedroom.
Okay.
Kristen was still sleeping in y'all's room.
Right.
So
She
yeah.
was only 2. She was 2. So yeah.
So yeah, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. We had these bunk beds,
Okay.
and we had this giant entertainment center. So our bunk beds went head to foot like this against a wall, and then the entertainment center was here.
Mm-hmm.
And so on top of this entertainment center, I had my favorite little porcelain doll because I was crazy. And
it was had a red dress on. I remember.
no,
that.
it's a green dress. She had red hair.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I know.
See, I told you you're getting old.
Yeah, I know.
So then this doll one night I'm sleeping, and for some reason I woke up and I didn't know why because I didn't hear anything, and so I roll over in bed and there's my doll right there in my bed because I slept on the bottom bed, and I'm like, okay, and it kind of was like, what are you doing here? Like, shouldn't you be up there in your stand? Like, in my head, I didn't question why she was there. I just questioned why she was on her stand. And then she looks at me and she says, "Can I sleep with you?" And I'm thinking in my head, like, well, what, don't you want to stay on your stand? Isn't that where you live? Like, in my 7-year-old brain. And then it registers, aren't your eyes green most of the time? This time her eyes were red. And then about that time, this little girl who was a ghost, lived in her house, shows up in her antique 19th century white lace gown and looks at me and says, "Do not let her in your bed. She is not nice." And I said, "I don't think you can sleep with me." and then I don't remember anything after that, honestly. I think I went to bed and I woke up and she was on the stand and that's it.
Wow. Now you said your sister was in the room too.
Stephanie.
Yeah.
Did she ever have any experiences with the doll like you did?
Not with the doll.
Nobody ever had experiences with the doll except for me.
Right.
And after that, we had our house cleansed.
Cleansed.
That's
okay.
when Misty had it cleansed and everything, and we actually had a medium come in,
Uh-huh.
and before we had her come in, Misty had contacted her over the phone,
Right.
and without telling her anything about what had happened or why we were calling her, she asked about the doll.
I
Okay.
need to
And-
step out for a second.
Yeah, go ahead. And Misty asked about it, and the medium asked about it, and she was like, "Yeah, we do have a doll in here." And she goes, "Does it have to do around your daughter?"
Wow.
And Misty was like, "Well, yeah." And so she's like, "Whatever you do, get rid of the doll. I don't know what type of doll it is, but you need to get rid of it. I'm picking that up already." And Misty's like, "Okay, you need to come to the house. If you're picking that up already, you need to come to the
Sure.
house." And so she comes to the house, and then she talked about the little girl that Destiny had witnessed with
Right.
the white dress and everything.
Right.
And she wasn't the only one that witnessed this little white girl in the dress, because at the time, let's see, Misty saw the girl in the white dress. Misty's mom saw the girl in the white dress, and it kind of ticked me off because the girl in the white dress didn't show herself to me. She showed herself to Lane as well when he was a little baby, and I got a whole nother story for that one after she gets back to tell us
Right.
about that one.
Right.
But this medium came in, and immediately she said, "You got rid of that doll, didn't you?" And Misty's like, "Yeah, we got rid of it." She goes, "I could tell because the present's not there." She had no clue what we had done with it or anything, but she
Wow.
knew that we got rid of it, and she proceeded to tell us that she was trying to get after Destiny. And me, I'm a major skeptic.
Right.
I really didn't believe in any of this stuff.
Sure.
I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. She had a nightmare. She was sleeping. I was explaining
Right,
everything logically.
right.
I was explaining
Sure.
it away.
As we always do.
Exactly. And it wasn't until Lane was probably 7-8 months old,
Okay.
and we had him in our room up against the wall in the crib and everything.
Okay.
And I had a camera
Yeah.
facing down there like most parents do.
Sure.
And he was sitting in his crib and everything. We're watching on the TV, and this time we had the blue tube or the tube TVs
Right,
still
uh-huh,
back then.
yeah.
They weren't flat TVs.
Yeah.
So we just had a 13-inch black and white sitting up there where we could see him,
Uh-huh.
and we're watching it, and he's sitting up and he's playing, and we're listening to him, and he's just playing with something, and all you can see is the crib and just him sitting in the center of it, and you can't see like the very corner
Uh-huh.
of it, but he's looking down there and he's sitting up and he's going and he's just laughing, having a good time playing, and you see him grabbing his picture, or not his picture, but his blanket, and he's grabbing the blanket, and then the blanket gets pulled back,
Oh, wow.
and I'm like, I'm looking for everyone. I was like, who's in there with them? So I'm figuring someone's in there playing with them.
Right.
One of the kids. I'm figuring Kristen is in there
Sure.
playing with them because she
Sure.
would be about 2.5, 3 years old.
Okay.
So I'm figuring she's in there, and I look over, and Chris is sitting over there. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to continue and watch. So we're sitting there watching. I call Misty over, and she's watching. He's just having a good old time with what's ever in the corner. And we don't go in the room, all right, because he's not crying, he's not doing
Right,
anything.
right.
But then he starts standing up, and he pulls himself up on the crib, and then I don't know how this happens, but he gets himself and he pulls himself up to where it's right here.
Okay.
And then, of course, he's top heavy. He's going to start falling
Sure.
forward.
Right. Mhm.
So I start running to go catch him because I see that he's getting up here.
Uh-huh.
And that's when Misty tells me, stop. And I'm like, what do you mean stop? And I look back and you see him. He's already over,
Oh, wow.
but he's just like this. Hands in front of him. And all you see him, he's about to fall out, but all you see is him being lifted back up by nothing. Nothing. Just being lifted back up and put back into the crib. And I'm
Wow.
like, and she's like, yes, you just saw that. And I'm like, I couldn't explain it.
Okay.
So I go in there, and where he had been pushed, he had like a red handprint.
Oh,
Just a
my-
small red handprint.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, we got to take pictures of this, whatever. We didn't have the fancy cell phones.
Right.
We had the little flip phone.
Sure,
So
uh-huh.
we took a little 2 megapixel picture.
Right.
But you could still see the handprint. And we were like, okay, I couldn't explain it. Had no clue. And he's learning to talk, okay?
Right.
And all he was saying was Bobby. And we're like, Bobby? Who did that?
Did you know anybody named Bobby?
No, I had no clue who Bobby was. I had
Okay.
no clue.
Okay.
So that was my first experience with that. And then the other experiences were when Destiny kept saying that she was talking to the little girl
Okay.
and everything.
Talk to her.
You weren't talking to the little girl.
She didn't talk to anybody. I was just the first one to see her.
Oh, okay, okay.
She would never talk to anybody. and
Except-
she would never make eye contact with anybody. Like that was the thing.
Well, I might.
Is my mic off the whole
Yeah,
time?
it was.
Okay,
so
so-
everyone was just looking at you and like,
Yeah, anyways, she never made eye contact with anybody, and she never actually spoke to anybody.
Okay, well, I know she made eye contact with Granny
Once.
because Granny, that's
My mom's mom.
right, Misty's mom,
Yeah.
my mother-in-law, is sitting there. All right, do you want to come and join? You sure?
You're on camera.
Yeah, we got you on camera, so
Right there.
This is my daughter, Madison.
she was a junior member as well.
I was
Yeah,
for a short period of time.
yeah,
Now she's going to college and moving on.
yeah.
I would love to do it, but I don't have time.
Okay. So I guess, Destiny, the question that I've got for you, do you think that it didn't bother you because the theory and the thoughts out today are that
That young.
being young, that a child's mind is more receptive and more open. The older we get, we have things that, this isn't right, this isn't, the way it is. Do you think maybe you were more open to that?
Well, I think it's like anything. If a child grows up in a gay household, they're going to be more acceptable of gay people. If you
Sure,
grow up in an
right.
interracial household, you'll be more accepting of those kinds of couples.
So because that we got more involved in the paranormal and trying to explain the stuff.
No.
No.
It was like way before that. Like when I was a kid,
Well,
like
okay.
that was normal. It happened to me every day. I didn't think that it was odd.
Right.
Nobody had ever told me that it was odd.
Sure. You knew it as just normal.
Yeah,
Right.
that was
Yeah.
just my Tuesday.
Okay.
Okay, very cool. That's we've been doing this now for over 8 years, and that's the first time I really think I remember you telling that story, and that's really interesting.
It's a
Thanks
terrifying
for doing
story.
Well, back then as a small child, yeah, it would be terrifying.
No,
for-
at the time I was not scared. I was like, what are you doing in here? Get up out of here. I'm trying to sleep.
Well,
but like looking back, I realized I could have died. Like,
But see,
what
now
was I doing?
the older you've gotten and the more you've been doing this, the more you realized that it could have
right.
Yes.
turned a little worse.
Mm-hmm.
Annabelle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
an Annabelle.
Yeah.
Well, how are
Could've
we
been
doing on time so far?
I don't know. She would be the timekeeper.
It's 9:10.
But
No,
I mean,
no.
how long have we been?
It should tell you right down there.
We have been going for 32 minutes and 24 seconds.
Okay, do we want to take a commercial?
Yeah, let's
break?
go ahead and take a commercial break. So I guess when we come back, we'll continue with our stories and talk about why I got involved a little bit more,
And I
why-
can talk a little bit, and I've got some stories that we
Oh,
want
I
to bring up. on
yeah,
some
I
people,
definitely got
so-
some stories too. So we'll go ahead. We'll take a small break right here, and when we come back, we'll get back into it.
All right.
You're listening to Military Paranormal Investigations Radio, MPIR.
Real Texans don't litter? The Texas Adopt a Highway program is the premier litter prevention campaign of the Texas Department of Transportation. The program currently has more than 4,500 groups across the state, and Military Paranormal Investigations is proud to be one. And it's a good way to let the community know you care. Adopting a piece of Texas highway is simple. You agree to take charge of a 2-mile stretch of road for a minimum of 2 years. And once approved, you agree to clean your portion of the highway at least 4 times per year. Following Texas's lead, Adopt a Highway programs have popped up across the U.S. and spread to Canada, Great Britain, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and Mexico. All told, more than 1.3 million volunteers participate in Adopt a Highway nationwide. For more information on the Texas Adopt a Highway program, visit their website at www.don'tmesswithtexas.org. Why not join the many who volunteer? Do your part. Keep Texas or your state beautiful.
The show will begin shortly. If you have a cell phone, turn it off now. If you have a pager, get a cell phone.
And welcome back to Military Paranormal Investigations Radio. Once again, I am Rob.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Destiny.
And before the commercial break, we were talking about our past experiences, what kind of brought us into the paranormal. And Destiny, you were finishing up with yours. And I was talking about mine with my son, Lane, and how he got pushed back into the crib. And that just started off right there. And I don't know if you remember that one. Oh, yeah, you remember that one too?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like she said, it was a common occurrence in our house. But me being the skeptic, I wanted to know what was going on. And we did do some research.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, we definitely did some research, and we found out that there was a little boy that was killed right next door to us.
Oh, wow.
And guess what his name was?
Bobby.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a he. It was a... Well, no. Bobby was a he, right?
I don't know. I was too young.
I can't remember what the little girl's name was, but from what I remember, the little girl stayed around for quite some time.
Okay.
Even after the house was cleansed, because she wasn't a malevolent spirit.
Right.
So she stuck around, and I remember one time I was sitting in the living room watching TV, and my mother-in-law was sitting at the computer desk, and she turned around and looked right at me and just stared at me, and I'm like, Mama, you all right? And she's like, you don't see her, do you? I was like, no, I don't see the little girl again. What happened is she was on the computer and she was doing some work or something. I can't remember, searching online or something. And she felt one of the kids come up there and say, Granny, and tug on her. Like she had a robe on. Tug on a robe. When she turned around, that little girl was just standing there at her.
Oh, my goodness.
Between me and her, and I couldn't see her.
Wow.
So I don't know if some people can see them, or maybe because I was such a skeptic, she didn't want to show herself to me. My mind was completely closed. I don't know.
Yeah.
But doing that, the research and everything, I know we found that there was a kid that was murdered next door to us, the house that Robert's in. I remember that one. And from what I remember, the little girl, because everyone remembered, and they described her all the same, having that old lacy, I guess pajamas, robe,
It was like this really long gown, but the gown wasn't lace. It was like this cream off-white color.
Uh-huh.
She had this neck piece here that was lace. But for me, the most part that I took away from her outfit was she was always dirty. Like herself was very clean. Her hair always looked nice, but her dress was so dirty. Like it was always covered in mud stains.
Interesting. So I don't know if we...
But, it's funny when we tell these stories. Have you ever noticed in watching TV and the different shows that we do, have you ever noticed it's always that old...
Yeah, the old-timey...
Victorian or some kind of old... I wonder why that is.
I don't know.
It makes absolutely no sense because her house was built in the 70s.
Yeah.
Well, just because the house was built doesn't mean...
Yeah, that's true.
Because
But was that land even developed before that housing was built?
Because that whole area used to be Caulfield.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Caulfield, the old airport, before Shepherd was there, was downtown from Caulfield all the way to Caulfield Road, all the way to McNeil was Caulfield. So that entire place was literally an airport that they had to mow down. But remember, this was a settlement.
Yeah,
the trail led, because we had the Apaches up, or the Comanches up here,
right,
back and forth. So this was a settlement for way back then. With the time frame that with the pajamas and the white gowns being dirty, it would be if you had the settlement, because it ran straight from Dallas on up here. Because right up by Quanah, is it Quanah? I believe it's up by Quanah. Is Medicine Mounds and Childress and the Peace River, where they found what's her name, Anna Parker from. So this was an entire settlement around this area. So it could quite possibly be that kind of developed where there was those types of houses before they actually made it into an airfield here. So it's quite possible that where we were could have been a settlement from back then. Never know.
Maybe it had nothing to do with our house and the placement at all.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I mean, and going back to what I was talking about, it brings up another experience that our group had. We were doing a investigation in a little town here in just north of Wichita Falls, And myself and Mike, who you've seen on our shows, we were investigating this building, and we were in the front end of the building, and the back half of the building had a lot of antiques and some other stuff into it, and next to it, attached through a catwalk or walkway, used to be a bank, a brothel, all kinds.
What's a brothel?
Yeah.
There's the story for it, huh?
all kinds of things. Well, anyways, as we do our investigations, we have what we call our command post, and they
Our ops center, right?
Our ops center, they were watching the cameras, and they said, "Hey, in the back of this room, we see some movement. Can you guys
that
go
was
check
Misty
it out?"
and I.
Right. So Mike and I start walking back, and it's July, August time frame, if I remember correctly. There was a storm that was building or had just passed through. It was hot. So Mike and I started walking towards the back, and it was completely dark in this room. I mean, you could not see hardly anything in front of you. Well, Mike was in front of me, and I was walking behind him, and Mike all of a sudden stops and says, "Do you see the lady in white?" and was frantic about it.
Yes, emphasize frantic.
And I said, "Mike, no, I don't see the lady in white." Well, I stopped. I put up my flashlight. Well, when I put up my flashlight, I noticed on my right side of my arm, I noticed the hair on my arm started standing up. Well, about that same time, I look in my flashlight and I see what looks like a mist. That's all. I mean, that's really all I can describe it. And I saw it come across me. I kept the light. I had it in my left hand, and I kept it on, and I saw this move across me. I felt it on this arm, and then it dissipated.
Yeah, see, I had a similar experience when we were up doing the up in Motley County. When we did that joint investigation with that other group from Dallas.
Right.
We were up there doing the jail cell, but there was the reason that we got into the jail cell is because there was a member from the other team that actually was from that town, and his grandmother had passed away recently.
Right.
And there was no electricity on in the house, and he was like, "Hey, let's go and
Sorry. I elbowed it.
let's go and do the investigation there," because we couldn't fit everyone in this jail cell because we had the two groups. So we were taking turns. We had some up in ops, some would be over there, and some would go to the house. So it was our turn to go. You and I went with him, and the other group had just left, and they said there was some stuff happening in the kitchen or the bathroom or whatever. So we get in there, and we're doing just the normal stuff, and there's no electricity on at this house whatsoever. They turned it off. They boarded up the windows. They put plastic bags in there so there's no light getting in there. It's completely pitch black except for the lights that we take in there. And we're going in there, and I remember you and I were in the back, and he was with us. And you left because...
Yeah, funny thing with me, and everyone always kids me about it. It always seems like no matter when I start an investigation, for whatever reason, my stomach will like to start growling. Well, of course, I'm not going to be in there because, I can contaminate the audio. So I happen to just walk out. Well, I'll let Rob finish.
And that's where him and I left, or him and I continued. We stayed away from the bathroom, and then we went into the room where his grandmother passed away in her sleep. So there's no furniture in there. They removed all the furniture in her room. Nothing is in there. It's bare. It's empty. So him and I sit, and literally I am sitting in this dark room with him, and where he was, Jeff was about the same distance from where this was. So I'm sitting in there with the K2, and I'm sitting Indian style. He's sitting Indian style. And we had your camera at the time because you said, "Here, take the camera."
Right.
I had no clue how to work it. So we're in there. I have the K2. I'm sitting down there. We're watching this. Him and I are doing an EVP session, talking to see if we can make contact with his grandmother to see how she's doing or whatever. He's just talking to her. And I'm watching this, and the K2 starts lighting up, and it's just going like one bar and then steady, steady, steady. And then it just stays complete red. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, "Dude, do you see this?" He's like, "Yes, I see this." And all we can see is the K2 meter, and it's just steady, and then all of a sudden, the K2 does this. Well, now the K2 is doing this. just doing like a figure 8.
Now, are you talking? You sure you're not talking the tri-field?
No, we didn't have the tri-field at the time.
Because remember, the K2's lights.
Yeah, the K2 lights like that.
Really?
But yes, the K2 stayed steady on the red, and then it started doing a figure 8.
Oh my goodness!
In front of us, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, "Dude, are you seeing this?" And he's like, "Yes," and I'm like, "I ain't touching that. I was like, I'm letting it do whatever it's doing. It's just staying steady red." And then he's like, okay, something just touched me. And I'm like, what? He's like, something is touching me on my right side. And he's like, I can feel it. And I look over to him, and I see this mist that you're talking about. And I remember it's pitch black with us, but I can still see this mist. He's like, okay, I'm feeling it. It's cold on my body right here. And he's just telling me, he's telling me exactly how this is feeling on him. And he says, I can feel it on my chest. Oh, it's coming over to me now on his arm. And when it gets about here, I start feeling a cold spot on my arm.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, now that it's getting closer, all of a sudden I can no longer start seeing him because it's black, and I can still see his silhouette. We're close enough to where we can see one another, but all I'm seeing now is this mist, and this mist is completely coming towards me. It's completely engulfing me, and I'm like doing this number. Trying to blow it away, and nothing is affecting it. It's like a dry ice mist.
Oh, wow.
Is what I'm feeling now. It's a dry ice. And so I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, take a picture. So I'm trying to pass him the camera, and he's trying to do it, and he's trying to figure out your camera. He can't figure it out.
Right.
And he's like, I can't figure it out. I was like, I don't know how to do it either. And as soon as he says he doesn't know how to do it either, it comes to about where Destiny is, and then it just completely dissipates. And I'm like, oh my, did you see that? I can't explain that. I was like, okay, we got to get Jeff. Let's go get Jeff back in here. So we go out and get you, and we said, okay, you got to come and see this. You got to come back inside. Well, we go back inside. We open up the door slams on us. And we're like, all right. So we try it again. Open it up even further, and the door slams on us. We're like, all right, I guess it doesn't want us to come back in.
Wow.
So that was...
Yeah, and I remember how mad I was that I wasn't in there to experience that. But to go back what I was talking about with Mike, and we were talking about the old style clothes. You know, Mike's was saying that the lady that he saw was in like a white gown, an old white gown. Well, the interesting story behind this was when they were actually doing some renovations in the building, inside the building in the wall, they found what was an old white nightgown.
Right. And the other interesting, because this is the only place that we've went on record as saying we found something
unexplainable,
exactly, paranormal, whatever you want to call it,
haunted, whatever you want to call it. That was the only place that we actually said that yes, we found something that we cannot explain.
Right.
Because we were getting all sorts of activity, because that's also the same building that we went in the other side, where you talked about that was the brothel, the bank, and everything. And we had the electrical problems, we had the video problems. All through our audio, you could hear clicking.
Right.
And we had no clue what that clicking was until we went up there and we started flipping on the old light switches. And it's the old light switches that would click around to get turn the power on.
Right.
But we had the client was there, and he was having an EVP session because he was saying that he heard this person, Gabriella. So he was trying to do an EVP session with Gabriella. And we did capture audio that sounded like a Gabby.
Okay.
And then when they were doing the renovations, and where they found that dress, they also found an old whiskey bottle, and carved into the wood where that dress was found was Gabby.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that.
We had some stuff there, and like I said, that was the only one that the thing tried to push me down the stairs, whatever it was. It did not like me at all.
Right.
So, fun fact, after all these crazy stories, that's the first place I did my first investigation.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, they almost died and then decided to bring me in.
Well, I didn't almost die. I made the mistake of going in by myself. When we were halfway, we had a team because I was in ops and I was doing the tech support. And one of the cameras messed up.
Something just flew into my head.
Okay. Anyways, I was in ops and one of the cameras went out. So I went up to go check the wire and everything to try and get the video feed back in. So I go up the stairs, and I'm in there messing with the camera, and just as I was about to come down, something from behind pushed me, tried to make me go down the stairs, and luckily I caught myself, but that was the last time we've ever sent anyone in by themselves to do anything.
Yeah. In fact, not that certain people do that. That's on them.
Right.
What we always believe in safety.
Exactly.
Because you never know. I mean, even if we have 2 or 3 of us in there, and all of a sudden somebody has a weird experience or doesn't feel right, we will actually leave. So that way, we never leave anyone in there by themselves, because you truly never know what can happen.
Exactly. But that was the last time that I remember doing that, and we got all sorts of footage from that one.
Well, I remember when I was going through the audio, I was going in and setting the DARs in there initially, and no more than maybe a minute or so after I put one down in that room, you actually hear the words "get out." So it had already started. I mean,
before we ever did the investigation,
exactly.
Which is why
Exactly.
There was so much footage that we caught in there, and so much audio footage that was just unexplainable. To have that much footage in one location is why unexplainable footage is why we said you have something paranormal here.
Right.
Whether it be haunted, was it malevolent? No. Did it hate me? Yeah. I mean, it made fun of me.
Right.
I mean, even with when we didn't have any video and everything, we were setting up.
Yeah, that's right.
Because when we set up, we always, I'm like sure most groups do, you got someone down in the ops center making sure that the camera angles are just right. And you got the radios and everything. And I'm over here trying to get this video to go, and they're telling me, I'm like, man, I can't get the video camera to come on. There's no video.
Right.
And clear as day on the audio recording, you can hear something mock me. Clear as day, say, no video.
Yep. I remember that. That was so funny.
Yeah, go ahead, Lab.
Maybe they weren't mocking you. Maybe they had a disability.
No, they were mocking.
But the interesting thing about that was you were probably the only one that really had any experience
to where it was
like that.
To where it was interacting, touching me. Yeah, I was the only, because it also, remember when I was going down the hall, and this one was on camera as well, I was going down the hall, and at the time I had glasses, and I had the headset on, and the headset got completely ripped off of me, and you can clearly see the headset, the radio on my belt, and the headset just completely get ripped off.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it
well, think back. I mean, we recently did that. Late last year, maybe this year. I don't even remember. And we had similar experiences in there.
Yeah.
That we really can't explain.
Because we went back 3 or 4 times we went to that location because of all the activity we got trying to debunk. We'd like to go back to a location. If we got something that we claim as paranormal or something like that, we want to try and find a logical explanation for it. So we will go back multiple times to try and recreate the events if we can. Sure. And a lot of times we did get recreation of that one, which is why we like going back there so much. Right.
And I think, for me, I know we've talked about why we got into this arena. For me, I didn't have any real experiences as a child with the paranormal, and I really never really thought about paranormal until I was in the Air Force and I was stationed in Utah, and I was at home by myself working on my computer, and I remember in the background the TV was on, and somebody had a medium, whatever you want to call it, that said that he could talk to people on the other side.
Okay.
And like I said, I wasn't watching it. I just had it going in the background. Well, my son was probably, he might have been 4 maybe. In his room he had one of those Star Wars banks. It's Darth Vader that you put the coin in and he moves around and makes noises and stuff. Well, I'm sitting there and all of a sudden it goes off. Well, being the skeptic that I am, my thought is, there's batteries in this. Batteries could start going down, could trigger it to go off. So I didn't really think anything more of it. Well, I was still working on my project on the computer, and about 5 minutes later, in my daughter's crib, now she was probably 18 months old, 2 years.
Maddie.
Yeah. all of a sudden her Tickle Me Elmo doll went off.
Okay.
Okay. Now, once again, being the skeptic that I am, I'm like, there's batteries in this as
Sure.
well. Maybe, just both of them had. But I started thinking, I'm like, okay, maybe there's a little bit more to this. Now, I will tell you, and I don't know if I've ever told you this before, I went over and I shut the TV off. I'm like, okay,
No, you didn't.
this is creeping me out. I'm like, one thing happening, two things happening, this guy's talking on TV, all
okay.
of that. I shut the TV off. Well, I started doing research a couple days later, and I actually found out there was a child that had died
In that house?
in that house.
Really?
In that house. So for me, it kind of, got my juices flowing as to, wanting to know more about this whole paranormal thing. Well, then it kind of just subsided. I never really got into it because, at the time, nobody was really talking about it.
Because if you did, you're
Their
crazy.
thought was you're crazy,
Right.
right, everything else. So it wasn't until I got here and got with you and Joe and we started talking about the paranormal that I really got interested in it. And, we had our experience, which we've talked about on our other radio show, where we captured the audio in the cemetery, which we don't do cemeteries anymore because it's just too many things can happen.
Too many things can happen, and if people find out in a cemetery that it's haunted, more people are going to show up and start destroying the cemetery.
Right, and that's actually what happened at this one. But there was a marker back there, and I asked the question, are you back here in the corner by yourself for a reason? And immediately afterwards, you do hear, no reason at all. And that's what got me, that's what really got me going. Because my son, he was probably, 2008. Oh, he was in his early teens, middle teens. And he was listening to the audio, and he was really interested in it. And all of a sudden, his face went completely white, and he just stopped. And I'm like, what's the matter? He's like, Dad, come over here and listen to this. So I put the headsets on, and I'm listening. I'm like, okay. I hear something, but I can't really. So I start messing with it, increasing the volume a little bit so I can hear. And yeah, you can hear. Definitely it says no reason at all. So, I do believe that, and everyone is entitled to their opinion. Some people don't believe in the paranormal, and that's fine. I don't know if it's out of being scared, just, I don't know what it is, and that's fine. Like I said, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But I do believe there are unexplainable things out there that, I would like to know more about. As I've said in many of my briefings and in many of our podcasts that we've done, I do believe probably between 95 to 98%, around there, you can explain something. When somebody says they're having a paranormal, it may be high EMF, it might be mold in the home, it could be many different things. But it's that other, 5 to 3% that piques my interest.
Yeah.
So
I'm the same way when it comes to that. Because, like I said, it's not that I'm trying to disprove it or debunk it. I want to find a logical explanation for it. But there are some things that I just can't explain, and it gets my mind wondering. Now, I did have an experience as a kid, and I'm pretty sure I talked about with the UFO experience. But that's what got me in the paranormal, that I couldn't explain, but it didn't keep the curiosity going. It was just something that happened when I was a kid in high school. Okay, I saw it, whatever. But it wasn't until I'm married to her, got married to Misty, that the things happening in the house, I couldn't explain them. This is the thing that really ticks Misty off, because they had those things happening and they were used to that. And what's some of the things that you see on the movie that happens with something that's haunted? Just what do you think in a house? What would you see happening?
Doors opening,
closing, drawers, everything, right?
Knives getting thrown at you.
Yeah, knives getting thrown. Okay, that's a different story.
Because that's normal.
That's a different story. But before I took this, what was happening to them, because it wasn't happening to me, it was happening to them. Before I took it serious, I was a jokester. So I came home from work one day. Misty was in the back she was in the back doing laundry, right?
Yeah.
So I come in. She doesn't hear me at all because the dryer's going. So I go in the kitchen and I start opening up every single cabinet. I start pulling out every single drawer, everything. She comes out there, and you can hear the footsteps of her walking, and then nothing. she just got so scared and then grabbed a knife. Because that's what you're going to do to something paranormal.
Yeah.
You're going to grab a knife, right?
Right.
So she grabs a knife, and I'm over here, and I'm just trying not to laugh my hardest.
Yeah.
She comes around the corner, pale, white as a ghost,
Oh,
because
my
she
goodness.
is so frightened.
Sure.
And she was so mad at me that I did that.
Yeah.
Because it was something real to them.
Sure, right.
And I made a joke out of it, and I was like, okay, wasn't going to do that again. But
Because he almost got stabbed, not because
Yeah.
he cared that it hurt her feelings.
what she's talking about is when I'm in there and I'm cooking,
Uh-huh.
okay? And through our house, we have like a window opening where you can see into the living room where the TV is and the kitchen.
Okay.
So when you're doing the dishes, you can look through and you can watch everything that's
Right,
going on.
right.
Well, I'm turned around at the stove and I'm cooking, and all of a sudden, this knife gets thrown on my back. I feel the handle hit my back and then hit the floor. And I think it's Misty because she's in there. And I turn around and she's just watching TV. I'm like, oh, so we're playing this game. You're throwing knives at me now? And she goes, what are you talking about? And I was like, I pick up the knife. I was like, this knife. She goes, I just sat down. I was like,
Wow.
do what? And I'm like, okay, well, this knife just, it was sitting over here on the counter and just threw it. She goes, wasn't me.
Now, a question for you. How far between when you played the trick on her till that happened did this take place?
Not that long afterwards.
So it makes me wonder,
Yes.
did you upset something
think I
by
did
doing that?
because the other thing that really got me going, and you need to see it with your own eyes,
Right.
to be it unexplainable.
Sure.
Because everything else is like, okay, maybe the house was unsettled,
Right.
and the knife
Mhm.
just hit me,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But her and I are in that same living room watching TV,
Uh-huh.
and we have the incest lighting,
Uh-huh.
and we normally only keep those on, and it's on a dimmer switch.
Okay.
And so we're sitting there watching TV, and the light is on, and all of a sudden it dims out and goes off. I'm like, all right, maybe electrical problems.
Sure, right.
Because I'm an electrician in the Air Force.
Right.
So I'm explaining this away, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's just the fuse box, whatever. Maybe there's a short in it where it's adjusting the rheostat in there,
Yeah.
whatever. So I go over there and I turn it back on. I'm like, cool. I pushed the button because it went off. It clicked off, completely off. So I
Yeah.
pushed the button and turned it back on. And we're sitting there watching it again, and all of a sudden, the lights start dimming again. And I look up and look over there, and I'm like, what the heck? I go over there and I hit the dang thing because, beating on
Right.
it works, right? So I beat on the dang
Yeah.
thing, and okay, everything's good. I was like, all right, so I turn it on. So this time we're over there, and it's not even 2 minutes later, it does it again. It starts, but this time, Misty and I both look at the dimmer switch, and you can see the dimmer switch doing this, just turning off by itself.
Wow.
And we're like, all right, I guess it's time for bed. Well, you enjoy TV. We left the TV on. We said, all right, we're going to go to bed, seeing as how you want some alone time in here.
Yeah.
So her and I went in there, and we sat up, and we literally talked about that. And we're like, did you? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
And then you can hear up in our attic footsteps.
Wow.
Ugh, I'm crying.
Yeah.
I cry when we talk about this.
Because it's stuff that I couldn't explain. I was like, all right, stuff that happened to you girls. All right, I'm hooked. I'm gonna do some research and find out. And that's when I came up to you and Joe and the
Yeah.
whole things, because I had the DAR with us
Yeah.
during that meeting. And that's the rest is history.
I think for those, as Destiny was talking about, she just saw it as being normal,
Mhm.
and those that I think that are open to it, it is real. But until, for folks like you and I that are skeptical, we can always push it off
Right.
as something else. We always have an excuse for what
Right.
it is until you had an experience like that you truly could not explain as to why it happens. And you see it a lot.
Yes.
Especially on TV shows when they talk about different cases that
Right.
are going on. There's always somebody in the family that is experiencing it. Then there may be one or two others that just are like, yeah, right, something else is going
Right.
on.
That
You
was
need
me.
to quit. And then it takes a serious an event, paranormal wise, to get them to realize that, hey, maybe there is something out there.
Right. So on that note, if you do have a case out there and you'd like someone to come out and explain or try and figure out what's going on, give us a call, because even though we're not in your location, we know other paranormal groups that can probably help you out as
Right.
well.
And with that, since we're in Wichita Falls, which is just 10 miles north of the Oklahoma border, we do go to Oklahoma. We'll go in Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico. So there are areas around. So if you do, by all means, go on the site. Contact us. Let us know what's going on. We'll normally contact you within a day. Talk to you about what you're experiencing, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, 'cause it's always interesting when we start talking about these shows.
Yeah, I'm sitting here and I'm like, we only normally try to keep these at about an hour, and I'm sitting here thinking, all three of us have experienced so many more things that we could sit and talk about. How are we doing on time?
An hour and 7 minutes.
Okay, well, I hate to end the show, but
I know, but I know you got to get up and go to Dallas in the morning with
And,
your hubby. He's sitting in the other room waiting on you.
and
Very
maybe we'll
impatiently.
do another show sometime where we get Mike and some of our other members to come in, and we'll just sit and talk about our experiences. And as we said, if you have experiences,
Right.
Post those as well, because I find it interesting to hear other people's experiences, and maybe they're similar to something
Right.
you've experienced.
And I definitely want to apologize in person to Patricia from North Carolina. I put a little post out there on the last podcast, but she sent us an email and it went to our spam folder.
Okay.
And from the email, she said that there's stuff happening to her and she really wants to talk about it with someone, and we didn't get back to her. So if you're out there and you listen to our podcast, Patricia, please contact us back. I will be looking for that email. I got the settings set back right. But we definitely want to hear what's going on with you folks. If you have an idea for another show, let us know, because this one was once again thrown together, but it went
real well.
It went real well. And we're probably going to have a guest speaker on. We had someone get on our Facebook. I believe his name was Josh.
Josh Irwin.
Yeah, Josh Irwin. I'm looking forward to doing a podcast with you, having you on as a guest speaker. I think that'll be pretty cool, because you and Mike, I got a feeling you're going to banter, and Jeff and I are just going to sit back and intertwine and inject when we can.
And remember, you can always find us on Facebook.
Right, you can always find us on Twitter as well, and
You can listen to our podcasts on
Podbean, and also now YouTube. We're starting to put these videos up on YouTube, so you can go there as well. And always, if you need to get a hold of us, contact us at radioshow@militaryparanormal.com.
So, Destiny, I'd like to say thanks. It was great having you here. I hope we can have you on many more shows.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
can talk about other topics.
Hopefully, I'll get invited more than 6 hours ahead of time.
Okay.
Well, I did invite her last week and tell her that we were doing one on normally Wednesdays,
Right.
and I just reminded her about 6 hours before, hey, you still up for a Wednesday show? And she's like, sure, Dad. But I like it because the video angle and everything, all the producing is done by Des. She did all the lighting and everything, so I think I'm going to push that off to her from now
So,
on.
in other words, if it's terrible, don't say anything because my ego can't handle
You
it.
can always blame Rob.
That's right.
So, I'd like to say thanks for you guys listening to us. And as I said, if there's anything we can do, contact us on our different avenues. And I hope you have a good evening.
Have a good evening, people. Good night. You're not going to say good night?